Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday. Happy Thursday, Lesley.
Happy Thursday. How's it going?
It's going. It's a little struggle today, a little tired today, as we were talking about before we actually went live. But, like everyone else, you get up and you put your big girl pants on and you get to work because we are entrepreneurs and that's what we have to do, right? We don't have the choice. So today we are talking about what to say in your contracts about pricing and investment level. We have recently done a revision to our contracts that I've sold for multiple years. I don't even know how many years, 3 years. We have sold so many. We've gotten incredible accolades about our contracts. People are using them all over, but we just recently did an update, and anyone who purchased them in the past got our update, and people are starting to buy them like hotcakes again because they are so good. They're so thorough, and I'm looking for it because I took it out. So today we want to talk about what to say in your contracts about pricing and investment level. This is a pretty big deal because if you're not saying the right things in your contract, you are setting yourself up for liability if the client at some point gets unhappy and chooses to turn to the contract to get the details. What did I actually really sign up for, right? And is he or she doing the right thing?
Well, and these are details too that as designers, we sometimes get a little anxious about or nervous. And instead of looking at them, talking about them, making sure everyone's clear, sometimes we just kind of gloss over them and then we have them sign the contract and we move on. So I really do think it's important to not only have a proper contract with clear details about pricing and investment levels, but also make sure you're talking about it with your clients and that everyone is clear from the beginning what to expect, how it's going to work, when payments are due, all the details. Do not leave this up to we'll just get going and I'll send them bills when it's time, because nobody likes not knowing what to expect when it comes to their money.
I know. And I felt bad this morning. One of my profit insiders messaged me on the business helpline that we have for all of our coaching clients, where they can message us right away and we get back to them mostly the same day. And she didn't follow her procedure that we've taught her and get on the phone or on Zoom or in person to go over the contract. She got intimidated, honestly, I think intimidated by the client who was a lawyer who said, no, just send it to me. I need to review it first. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm happy for you to review it after our phone call, but as part of my process to go over it, it'll only take 10 minutes. She didn't do that. And sure enough, he read, he overthought, and he's coming back to her with a bunch of stuff. Now, that could happen anyway. I'm not saying it can't, but it's causing her a tremendous amount of anxiety where some of those things might have come up had she gone over them with him over the phone or over Zoom or in person, and she could have addressed them right away.
Yes.
Now we've got the silence going on. I'm not happy that the contract seems like it's mostly in your favor, and now there's silence. So that anxiety is not good. So that was an extra tip from this live that everyone should heed. When you're sending a contract to a client, don't send it until you're actually on the phone with them or in person or on Zoom with them, or 5 minutes before, go over it with them. Yes. But you start with tip number 1 that we have today.
I sure will. And it ties into all this. Our first tip about what to say in your contracts about pricing and investment level is to have clear communication, not only the actual discussion with your client, but when it comes to the nitty-gritty in your contracts, to include both your rate or fee for the project and payment schedule broken down by project phase. So if you're using the key, the designer's ultimate pricing tool that we have available, you will see that there, for a new build, there is pre-construction planning, pre-construction design, concept design, detailed design, implementation, project management. That is all part of your pricing and how you charge. Yes. And breaking it down clearly in your agreement, in your contract, showing that not only what the money is, but when payment is due for every phase is crucial.
Yes. And I know I hear everybody's doubt, but that changes sometimes and things. Okay. But we are projecting out how we think the job is going to go. But then that brings us to kind of tip number 2. When will there be additional charges? What happens in the job? So you have your standard pricing and schedule broken down by what word am I? By project phase. That's the word I couldn't think of. But then you also have to tell the client, well, what happens if they open up a wall and they find something and it needs additional project management hours? Or what else happens, Lesley? There's so many things that
What
happen.
if something happens with the client personally and they have to put the project on hold? Do you have
Yes.
a restart fee to re-engage that project? What if you have included 2 revisions in your agreement, but for some reason the client isn't satisfied and wants additional revisions,
Right.
and
Or
that's
if they
not part of
say,
your design fee?
right. Or they say, wait, can you add, and this happening again to one of my profit insides, our profit insiders, they added a powder room and a laundry room and said, well, I just want this part of your fee. Like, no, I don't want you adding anymore. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
yeah,
don't
but
wanna pay you for the design, I just want you to do, but no, this, and again, this is why you need to be clear in your contracts and have the discussion. When
right.
you are following the key, and if you are charging a flat design fee for your concept and detailed design, there's a really clear scope. And if a client says, "Can you add a powder room to this?" I'd be happy to. Let me send you a proposal for that additional project scope and we can add it to the agreement.
And your contract is what allows you to do that
Mhm.
because you've clearly stated in your contract when there will be additional fees. So, design phase maybe includes 2 revisions in your design firm, and now they want a third or a fourth. Or they're completely changing the scope of the kitchen because they went into their friend's house and liked that better, and they want you to now change it. So, your contract has to clearly state that if there are revisions, how much it's going to cost. And
Yes.
it's something that will go to tip number 3, which goes back to my original conversation when I first started. The ability to talk to the client and get them to initial in certain sections of your contract that historically cause interior designers issues. And
Yes.
that, I'll tell you where those are. Anytime you talk about money and anytime you talk about schedule, there should be initial. And in our contracts, we give you that ability to ask the client to initial certain paragraphs. And I did that more because I don't think that is anything particular that holds up in court, that the client also signed in these 4 other places, initialed, but it makes you make sure you go over it with them because it's an uncomfortable spot for you often, right? And it makes you
Correct.
talk out loud to the client, not just go by legalese. But I will tell you, our contracts are pretty English language, wouldn't you say?
We did the best we could. And I say that in the sense of there's only so much you can do and still be legally binding, and making sure that
Yes.
you have the correct verbiage around certain nuances. It's, to a certain degree, there need to be some fancy schmancy legal terms. But yes, we worked really hard to make these contracts with the help of David Adler, the attorney that we partner with, who
Yes.
helped us create and review and give his stamp of approval to all of these.
Yes.
We want it to be plain English enough that you understand what you're telling your client, that you fully understand what is in your agreement, and make sure the language is protecting you. So there is that balance to it. But I will say these definitely lean more plain English than the original contracts that you had available. That was a huge priority for us this time, was simplifying the language.
Yeah, because I want to be able to understand what I'm giving a client too. I don't, how do you explain a paragraph that you don't understand? Which is why we also added a video with me and David Adler explaining paragraph by paragraph what each means. So if you have to explain it to your client, you will actually have the knowledge to do that. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes you have to watch those videos a couple of times
Mhm.
to really absorb and read the paragraph. I feel like a lot of people download contracts, don't read the contracts, start to use them, plug in. I even got a Voxer last night, or from my business helpline, a message from someone who was doing a contract for presentation this morning. And it was like, wait, I understand this area. And the next message was, oh, I kept reading and I got it. Right. So it's really important for all of you to read your contracts line by line, even though it's torture. We know, Lesley and I have
Yeah.
done it.
This
Oh,
isn't the fun part of the business. We did not become interior designers to review and sign and send contracts, but it is
yes.
necessary to keep your business legit, to protect you, to protect the client, to
Yes.
protect your finances.
Yes.
So get comfortable with this, folks. The contracts are, you need them. You
You
need them.
need them. Absolutely. And Picasso Designs on Instagram is saying it's also an acknowledgement that they were given the information when you
Correct.
have them initial, I'm assuming is where she made that comment. Yes, you
Yeah.
gave it to them. They can't deny you never told them. They can't say, well, you gave me the contract, but you never pointed that out, or I didn't read that part. You are going over the most difficult parts of the contract with extra focus, but
Yes.
quickly and confidently, because you know you have great contracts. I want to mention, though, at this point, these contracts are made to be flat design fee, variable project management fee. These are not a square footage contract.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one big giant flat fee contract. This is where I feel you are most protected in a design job, which is a flat design fee, variable project management fee. And we even added, tell them what we added for the beginning.
The pre-construction planning and design, because what we found is for larger remodels, new builds, very large scale multi-room projects that involve construction, sometimes you need to have that pre-construction planning phase to even get a sense as to what the design fee will be or what the project will look like. It's, some people call it an exploratory phase or a feasibility phase. We have
Yes.
called it pre-construction planning and pre-construction design. So we have actually separated that contract out from the rest of it, meaning if you were doing a new build, you would actually use our pre-construction planning and design contract. Once you've gotten through that phase, you have enough data to then continue the project and create and issue the full service design agreement to continue everything on. So that, I know it sounds a little bit confusing, but what we were finding, and I found this in my own business, often at the beginning of a big project, you just don't have enough information to be able to put together an agreement to see this project through to completion that might be 3 years into the future. So this pre-construction planning agreement is new and has been so helpful for myself and other designers, because it's during that phase that you are gathering the data you need, doing the initial design, getting contractor pricing so that you can confidently price and go through the rest of the job and have that agreement be accurate and not need to go be editing things. Or I had it before where I collected a flat design fee, but then it wasn't really feasible. And then we had to take the scope out and I was giving refund. Like, it just gets complicated. So
It
this really
does.
does simplify things. You do that exploratory pre-design phase to know what's coming next. And our contracts align with that now.
Yes. Okay. So Charlotte Lilly Interior said, love the pre-construction contract. Was so helpful. So thank you for
Yes.
that. It is. And you know what? I love when a designer says, well, I'm just going to hop on Zoom with them. And it's just like redlining their architectural plans. I'm like, but you already did your proposal. Like, you already met with them and now they're getting you to do work for free. Right. So we don't want to do that. We want to have we should have called it feasibility, because I like that better. That feasibility stage. So the client really knows, what am I looking at here? How many industry partners do I need on this job? How much is it really going to cost me? Are there limitations in the structure of the house? Like, when you're figuring all that stuff out, it's kind of like pre-design.
It is.
Because sometimes the client will turn around and go, oh, geez, I didn't know all that needed to be done. You know what? I'm going to put this on hold. And it's not when you've already written up your contract, taken a huge dollar amount from them, have to give it back. It's so messy. So now our contract bundle has 4 contracts in it, but they all can be purchased separately as well. We put a link in the description. If you're on Instagram, just hop on over to YouTube or Facebook to get all those links. But I believe you can also just go to my profile. It might be a little harder to find. We're trying to work on that. Things that are easy to find. And then Picasso Design says, is the pre-construction part of project management. It's actually very similar to the project management that happens at the end once you've got approval on all your purchases. When you start to order, track, deliver, placement, finishing touches, that's project management. And maybe site visits and industry partners, coordination visits. It's similar to that, but it happens in the beginning. So it's a similar type contract, but it's almost simpler, because it's just like, let's figure out the feasibility of all of this before we go into the design contract, the full design contract.
Bingo.
And something else just popped into my head and then it popped right out again. What was it? We have all these contracts easy for you to download to your computer. Oh, I know what it was. Talk about how we made the contract pages themselves very little you have to do to them, and how we place. I forgot to talk about the schedules.
Yes. Okay. So this, again, big change if you purchase the contracts initially. This was a pain point that we'd heard from designers, that there were multiple places within the pages of the contracts that you had to add or edit data. So your hourly rate, hours, like little client addresses, contact information, little nitpicky things that had to get edited every time, that truly are pain to have to go through a 10-page contract and make sure that you've gotten every little thing updated and correct. So what we have done is the main body of the contract, save for putting in your client's name and address on, I believe it's the first page.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if there was anything else.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're right so
The
far.
rest of the contract is standard, meaning it's higher level, it's a broader overview, it's how you work, how we work, all that good stuff. Go download them.
Right.
What we have done to make things really simple is all of the project specific details. So your flat design fee, your variable design estimate for the pre-construction implementation, your hourly rate, your the estimate you're giving the clients for their furnishings and decor estimate for the project. I feel like that's if they're timelines. Those are all in additional schedules. We call them schedules. It's just a piece of paper at the end of the document. And it's referred to in the main contract. So it'll say, design fees and pricing, and it gives details. See Schedule A. And that's where you can plug in, boom, 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 and you get all of this from the key. All the information is there for you. And that way you are looking at a much more limited place to make edits every time, which has saved so much time and so many mistakes in preparing these contracts to be signed, because all of the nuts and bolts for the particular project are all in these
schedules,
2 to 3 schedules at the end, depending on which contract you're using.
Right. So we have for full service design, let's just talk about that for a second. We have project scope and investment, and then we have estimate, always, project timeline, and then a schedule that talks about payment for design services. When are payments going to be due? Either milestones during the project or dates if you're that good. When is it going to be, the client literally can just turn to the back and go, okay, when is everything actually happening and when do I have to pay? We actually also with these contracts give you a sample scope. So we give you a sample of all the schedules so you have an idea and you can visualize what yours should look like. We're not just saying, hey, create a schedule. Good luck with that. We're giving you an example. And the one thing we also didn't mention is with these contracts come lots of training with you and I, and with David Adler and I, and they should be able to watch it, put in their things, and that's it. And we actually give a lot more tips with pricing, and we give Canva templates for the proposal. So talk about how we're recommending proposal before contract.
So I'm in the trenches with all the designers we coach, and I've made all the mistakes myself. I used to just put together a proposal in an email and hit send and close my eyes and hope for the best and hope the client would get back to me and that the number wouldn't be too scary. And spoiler alert, that doesn't work. And then you start telling yourself stories and you haven't gotten to actually discuss things, and the client's just looking at a number. What we teach, which has worked so well for me and the hundreds of other designers that we have shared this with, is to create a beautiful proposal. Canva is an amazing free tool. If you're not using it for your business, there's your bonus tip for today. Go get a Canva account.
Absolutely.
And we have a beautiful template where it is really easy to plug in your numbers and brand that template to your business, your colors, your fonts, because that matters. We are in an aesthetic industry. Even if you're presenting numbers, it should look pretty and feel like it's aligned with you and your business. But what we teach is prepare this Canva document, and it's pretty simple. It's just the numbers in a pretty way. And we always suggest meeting over Zoom or meeting in person. I personally prefer Zoom. Clients are busy. They don't want to take the time. You don't want to have to travel. It's a 10-minute meeting. And I actually don't send mine in advance. We get that question a lot. I want them to be seeing it on the screen. So I screen share a Canva document, and I want to see their reaction, read their expressions, manage their expectations, and have the money conversation face to face with them so that any questions, concerns, issues, things are addressed right away. You're not just sending numbers in an email and hoping for the best, but you're actually confidently, and this takes practice, confidently, clearly, simply saying, here are the numbers for your project. Here's the design fee. Here's this. Here's this. How does that sound? And
Yes.
you're getting to see their face, their expressions, read their
Body language.
Body language. I know
Body
that's your
language.
jam.
Right?
This has resulted in so many more conversions for our clients. This matters. How you present the numbers in your contracts has a huge impact. And if you do this proposal right, that contract's no big deal because they're already on board with the numbers. You're just making sure that all expectations are met and managed and getting their signature. The contract should not be what you're sending and hoping they read it and get on board with the project. You should already have a proposal that is sent and discussed, and you've gotten the thumbs up, and the contract is just making it official.
Yeah, because once they get to the contract, they're like, oh, yeah, you went over that with me. Okay, let me sign.
Yes.
Right. So if they have a problem with your numbers, you're going to know it from your Canva template proposal that we provide to you, as opposed to waiting till you did this whole contract and got all anxious about it, and sent it. The other thing, you want to know my favorite part of the proposal, since you're the pretty, right? You like everything pretty. You're a designer. Me, I'm business minded. So to me, the part I love about the contracts is in the proposals, the Canva proposal templates that we give as part of the contracts when we sell them. Wait, do we do as part of the key or the contracts? Am I getting confused?
I know it's for sure with the key. I'm not totally sure if it's with the contracts.
I actually might be wrong on that. So, but what I do love about those Canva proposals, and I have to check, do they come with the key or the contracts, is in the top right corner, we actually tell what that stage includes. Right. So if it's a design, it's saying on the top right, what is that in general, a high level include? And on every single stage that you're charging them for, it's telling them what that stage is about at a high level.
Correct.
And that's really important for them to understand. And it starts that conversation about what is design really about for clients who've never used a designer before. Right. So, all right, everybody, I think that's it for today, but we put a link to check out our contract templates. And again, they can be bought together, 4 of them. Name them again for everybody.
Name what again?
The contracts.
Oh, the 4 contracts. Okay. You're putting me on the spot here. There's the pre-construction design and planning, full service design, designer on call, and designer for a day.
For a day. Yes.
There we go.
And if you don't do designer for a day or designer on call is just an hourly contract. Designer for a day is you're kind of like their shopping bestie for the day, which some designers like to do. Other designers do not think it's designer-like, and that's fine. You don't have to do it. But if it is something that you're offering, we have a contract for you. Either as a bundle is the best way to buy them economically. But if you just need 1 or 2, we have them there as well. So click the link, check them out. Make sure you're using contracts that protect you. It is really important. Someone's asking me, will you look over our current contract? No, unfortunately, if you're not a certain level client with me, I don't look over contracts. I'm not a lawyer. So I always say, if you are buying the contracts that we sell and you're changing them, make sure you're getting them checked by a lawyer. And you'll see this so if a lawyer was going to charge you $350 an hour times 10 hours to create a new contract for your firm, and instead you change some things to match your business model that may not match our contracts exactly, I always say, have a lawyer in your state take a quick glance. But if you're not changing them, according to David, these are great contracts in any state, and it covers you and it protects the client as well from things that you may not do right. Did we catch everything? Did we say everything we needed to say?
That's such a great point you made that, if you hire an attorney to build you a contract from scratch, you're looking, I would say at least $2,000, if not
at
$3,000
least
for one contract, which is completely justified. There is a lot that goes into creating a contract. The entire contract bundle is a quarter of that. And then, if you do need an hour or 2 of your attorney's time just to review, if there are any edits that are, nuances of your business that you want to make sure are in there, the value and the savings are massive to
Yes.
have these beautifully created, lawyer vetted contracts as your starting point. Leveraging that with your own attorney is going to save you so much money. And take it
Right.
from someone who has paid for contracts in the past. I wish this had been available because I would have bought these without question.
Well, and you know what's cool too, because David Adler, attorney in Chicago, who serves many states, you can call him if anything ever happens, because these are the contracts he created. So one of my one-on-one clients, it wasn't anything wrong with their contract. They're actually quite protected, I hear. As a client is getting annoyed with them, David's saying, yeah, you're using these contracts, you are covered. Let the client blow some smoke, let them calm down. You're covered. So she was able to call him, and yes, of course, you would have to pay him for extra time for something like that, but at least he's already familiar with the contract you're using, which saves you time of him reviewing, asking you questions about your business model. You know, it's really an incredible value. So, all right, go click the link, check out our contracts if you need one, if you want one, if you want to revise the current ones you're using because they're not working for you, or if you're looking to change your business model to a model that's going to protect you financially, which is the hybrid model, which is what these contracts are. Click the link and grab them, because I keep changing them every year. And if you buy them, you'll get all future revisions as well, which is kind of cool. Not everybody does that. All right, Lesley, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm thankful for everyone who stuck around to listen to. I know contracts are not the sexiest topic, but I promise if you get this buttoned up, it's going to free you up to do what you do best and to do it with less stress, with receiving payments on time. This is that foundational stuff. Contracts are the basis that you need to have in place to run a thriving, successful design business. So do not overlook how important this is. Buy them, send them to your clients, get them signed, and move on with the fun stuff that you love to do as a designer.
That's it. I'm going to end right there. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.